Breaking just hours ago, the Vatican confirms former Pope Benedict has died at the age of 95. Earlier this week, the Vatican announced that the health of the Pope Emeritus had declined because of his age. He passed away this morning at his residence within the walls of the Vatican, nearly 10 years after he stood down because of his ailing health. Pope Benedict charted a new course for the papacy when he chose to retire in 2013. Every other pope since the 15th century had led the Catholic Church until their death. NBC's Molly Hunter joins us now live from the Vatican. Molly, what do we know about the funeral services? This is somewhat uncharted territory, is it not? Because the Vatican hasn't had to plan a funeral for a former pope in nearly 6 centuries.
Yeah, it hasn't had to plan one in nearly 6 centuries and certainly didn't release any kind of detailed funeral plans for the press or for anyone else in the days leading up to his death, as we saw with perhaps, Queen Elizabeth, of course, which was the most recent really high-profile death, of course, that was meticulously planned. This, of course, has been planned behind closed doors. We understand that Benedict would have had a very strong hand in planning not only his final days, just like he did his retirement, Mehdi, but also his funeral and his burial. So what we know from the Holy See Press Office, and they held a press conference just about an hour and a half ago, is that the Pope Emeritus will start by lying in state on Monday in St. Peter's Basilica to allow the faithful to say their final goodbye. His funeral will then take place outside right behind me in St. Peter's Square, 9:30 in the morning here local time on Thursday, January 5th. And then this was expected, Mehdi, but the current Pope, Pope Francis, will preside over the funeral mass. And this is just what's extraordinary, to see a current Pope bearing and presiding over a funeral of a former Pope. Now, no word yet on whether it will be a state funeral. We know because it will be in St. Peter's Square, it will likely be open to the public. People will come and pay their respects. All we know from the press office is that it will be in the mode of simplicity, as were his wishes. It's also a moment, Mehdi, for the Church, as some Vatican watchers say, to really take stock of this legacy and possibly to start normalizing the retirement of a pontiff. Of course, when Benedict stepped back in 2013, it was shocking. But now his legacy will not only be, of course, as an intellectual, as a scholar, as Pope for 8 years, but also someone who maybe paved the way for future popes, whether it's Francis or popes in the future, to do this. So I think there will now be a conversation about, if a pope retires, what will that title be? What will that person wear? Where will that person live? And how involved will that retired pope be in religious life here, Mehdi?
Breaking news in Ukraine, where another round of Russian strikes has rattled the capital of Kyiv as Ukrainians were preparing to celebrate the new year. At least one person is dead. NBC's Matt Bradley is there on the ground for us. Matt, the damage from these latest Russian strikes were not limited to Kyiv, right?
That's right. It wasn't just the capital. We saw these targets throughout the country, in Mykolaiv in the south, the province around Dnipro in the east or central part of the country, to the west a little bit in Zhytomyr in that area. But, it was the capital, really, that bore the brunt of today's attacks. And it's been the capital that has borne the brunt of the last 3 days of attacks because, Corey, remember, this is part of a 3-day-long assault on targets across the country. And really, Russia's favorite target, which is electricity infrastructure. And that's what has been the new target for the past several months, ever since this latest round of missile strikes that have been going on ever since about mid-fall up until just yesterday. And this is kind of the fulfillment of President Volodymyr Zelensky's warning from Christmas Eve, where he said that the Russians are likely to attack before New Year's. Well, they have, and it really has been to devastating effect because this capital had really needed a reprieve, because now we're still talking about, I think it's 30% of the capital right now is without electricity. It was 40% just 2 days ago after that volley of 70 missiles across the country. But still, Corey, the anti-missile defense systems here in the capital and throughout the country have been surprising in their ability to shoot down all of these missiles and these sort of self-exploding drones that Ukraine says, the Shahed drones that were sourced in Iran. So, we're still seeing a lot of power outages here, and we're still seeing a lot of rescue workers trying to, and municipal workers trying to bring the lights back on in time for New Year's. Corey?
Government released new figures today that show immigration arrests nearly doubled during the 2022 fiscal year. Most of the nearly 143,000 immigrants arrested were migrants caught at the southern border. This morning, another bus full of migrants arrived near Vice President Kamala Harris's official residence in Washington. CBS's Omar Villafranca reports tonight on the crisis in the border city of El Paso.
The government is erecting a massive center to process thousands of asylum seekers still on the other side of the border, as migrants already in El Paso crowd outside a church, not to pray, but searching for a miracle.
They're humans, they're suffering, and we need to do something.
Volunteers like Martha Lay are there to help the hundreds of migrants that gather downtown. Some have made their asylum claim with CBP and are released into El Paso. There, aid workers hand out blankets and clothes to migrants, like Mylin and her son Angelo from Venezuela. After a 4-month journey, they made it to El Paso. We slept at the shelter, she says. They opened the doors for us.
City and county leaders are working on more housing for the migrants, but right now it's nonprofits and churches that are doing most of the work. The Sacred Heart Church here can house about 100 people inside, but outside, hundreds more sleep on the street every day.
I don't think anybody can see the people living here on the streets, to see the little kids, the families, and not have compassion.
Susan Goodell is CEO of a local food bank that serves almost 1,000 meals a day to waves of migrants who line up for water and food.
We will be here as long as there are people to feed.
Immigration laws may change, but for those helping migrants in El Paso, the need remains the same. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, El Paso.
A suspect is in custody in connection with the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students last month. Authorities sorted through thousands of tips and tracked Brian Kohberger more than 2,000 miles away from the murder scene to his parents' home in Pennsylvania's Pocono Mountains. As Danya Backus reports, police are trying to determine a motive for the killings.
What I can tell you is we have an individual in custody who committed these horrible crimes.
After 19,000 tips in a quadruple murder case that drew nationwide attention,
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohberger.
Kohberger was arrested at his parents' Pennsylvania home. The 28-year-old is a PhD criminology student at Washington State University, just a 10-minute drive to the Idaho campus. Kohberger is being held without bail and will spend the weekend in Pennsylvania. His extradition back to Idaho expected next week. The arrest caps nearly 7 weeks of fear and frustration for families of the 4 murdered students.
This is the first bit of joy that we've had in close to 7 weeks. We hope that they picked the right guy, and that gives us hope, and we haven't had hope for a long time.
Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Zaina Cornodal, and Ethan Chapin all stabbed multiple times as they slept inside this house near the campus. Despite surveillance video showing the victims in the hours before they were murdered, and despite thousands of tips pouring into the Moscow Police Department, there appeared, at least publicly, to be little movement on the case. No suspects, no arrest. As the grief mounted and many students left campus. Outside the house, the caution tape has finally come down.
No arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
The district attorney who will eventually prosecute Kohberger once he's back in Idaho says an arrest does not mean an end to the investigation. They are still searching for tips from anyone who knows the suspect. We should know more after the extradition hearing Tuesday in Pennsylvania. For CBS Saturday Morning, Danya Backus, Moscow, Idaho.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. It's Adriana Diaz. I'm so looking forward to the new year. The thing that I just can't wait for is for my daughter to start making sentences. She's got like 10 words right now. She's 1. And I just can't wait to talk to her and have conversations. I know I sound like such a first-time parent.
Hi, I'm Charlie D'Agata. Wishes for 2023. Peace in Ukraine, where I've been spending a lot of time. Peace anywhere in the world where there's fighting. I'd like to spend some time with my family and friends and maybe, just maybe, work on my golf game a bit.
I'm Lilia Luciano, here in my new home, Brooklyn, New York. This year was incredibly exciting. I got to make a big life transition, come to the city where I've dreamt of being for a long time, and work with the most remarkable colleagues on some difficult stories oftentimes, but important stories to tell next year. I'm so excited, and I look forward to continuing the work with just the best in news, the best humans, the best journalism at CBS News.
Hey everybody, it's Manuel Bojorquez, your Miami-based correspondent, saying hi from a beautiful Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where I'm enjoying a little R&R. Along those lines, one of the things I'm looking forward to in the new year is the ability to travel even more, whether it's for work, on assignment, seeing new places, meeting new people, or just like this, for fun. So, as we say in Spanish, Feliz Año Nuevo, Happy New Year.
Hey there everyone, Errol Barnett here, and I wanted to share with you my favorite movie moment of the year. Without a doubt, it has to be when my wife and I went to go see the sequel to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Not only was it a great tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman, but it was the first time my wife and I saw a massive spectacle of a movie in the theaters in a very long time. And I think that type of connection with strangers is something we all miss, and I hope we can all get back to. Hope you all have a great 2023.
I'm Chris Van Cleve. We're in Atlanta today at the Delta Flight Museum. What am I looking forward to next year? Starting a new assignment. I'll be leaving Washington after 16 years on the East Coast and heading back west. I grew up in the Southwest. I'll be working out of Phoenix. It's close to family and an opportunity to tell stories up and down the West Coast and across the country. It's going to be a lot of variety and something very new for me. I'm looking forward to that in 2023.
Hi, I'm Omar Villafranca, and one thing I'm looking forward to in the new year is technology. I think this is the year where I'm going to drop one of the old social media sites that I'm on and try to find a new one, but I want it to be something that's going to be, let's just say, worthwhile for me.
Jerika Duncan here. As I reflect on 2022 going into 2023, I am all about focusing on just counting my blessings. I think in our industry, in this business, it can be so much, so overwhelming, the stories that we covered, that it's nice to just reflect on what we do have, try to make an impression in this world, be the best version of ourselves we can be. And I'm often reminded of that because I like to come to the track. It's my place of peace. As I was asked to think about 2023 and things that I'm looking forward to, it's just really counting my blessings. Happy New Year.